My most precious childhood memories of walking on my grandparents' legs as a form of foot massage. In exchange, I used to get to hear to their stories of wisdom that they would narrate, waking up to the sounds of Bhaktambar, the religious chants being played in the living room, eating delicious meals cooked with traditional recipes, learning rituals without even realizing that they were rituals. In a family of 12, nearly the size of a cricket team, it wasn't culture back then. It was simply life. At the age of 17, though, my life changed. I made a mistake of scoring well in my 12th grade. Yeah, which motivated my father, an astute businessman, to take a good big risk. He sent me off to London for my graduation. And funnily so, my mom chose to back this crazy decision. My first time away from home, away from family, away from everything familiar, I found myself suddenly transported into a world that not only spoke differently, but lived very differently. A world of new accents, new behaviors, new humor, sarcasm, new food patterns, new social codes. Everything was foreign. I was excited, yes, but I was also unprepared. For 7 years then, I adapted. I embraced their rhythm, their sense of independence, their fast-paced lifestyle, their thank yous, their sorries, and their classic bowl of water. But every single day, I started my work with an Avkar mantra. Namo Arihantanam, I bow to the Arihants. Namo Siddhanam, I bow to the Siddhas. Namo Ayariyanam, I bow to the Acharyas. Namo Uvajjayanam, I bow to the Upadhyayas. Namo Loe Savvasahunam, I bow to all the sadhus in the world. This is not Sanskrit. It's in Prakrit, which is way older than Sanskrit. And as the name suggests, this is the language of Prakriti, of nature. It gave me confidence and clarity as I started my day at work there. And as I adapted to the life in London, I protected the parts of me that were non-negotiable. I still found my way to Derasar, a Jain temple, even if it meant changing 2 trains to reach there. I ate Jain food even when my friends used to joke that my menu was smaller than the side salad. I chose to fast often, even when people were not able to understand why I had starved myself without any medical condition. I would visit library to read Gujarati newspaper of the previous month just to ensure that I remember how to read my native language. And of course, let me remind you, this was a time before the regional newspapers or regional papers were available online. I was blending into a global world, yes, but without letting go of my cultural compass. Today, the world is hyperglobal. We consume content from Korea, humor from the US, fashion from Europe, spirituality from the East. And do you think you decide that for yourself? It's the algorithms. Algorithms decide more about our identity than our own upbringing does. We are influenced every second by reels, creators, trends, challenges, opinions, lifestyles, and gossip. And here's the danger. In trying to fit into the world, we often drift away from our own selves. And this is exactly what Roots Before Routes is about. It's not about a slogan. It's a strategy for thriving in a world that constantly distracts us. When people hear the word roots, they assume its restrictions, its boundaries. But no, roots aren't boundaries. They are our anchors. They do not confine you. They strengthen you. Just like the trees stand tall, have very deep roots. The stronger and deeper the roots, the bigger the tree can grow, sustaining all the storms. Even when you plant a seed, the root gets anchored first before it sprouts out from the soil. Roots don't stop you from growing. They prevent you from falling. And roots or culture isn't just tradition. It is science, it is psychology, it is philosophy, all of it woven together into our daily life. You know what's ironic? We know the feature of the next iPhone, but do we know the benefit of the tilak that our grandmom used to put on our forehead? We know every new Netflix release, but do we know the reason behind wearing bangles? Let me decode these few things for you that we all saw whilst growing up. The tilak that's put on the forehead is put on the Ajna chakra, where the pineal gland is, the center of intuition, awareness, and clarity. It's not cosmetic, it's neuroactivation. When the pressure is applied on your pineal gland, it activates. It reminds you every day to think clearly, act consciously, and stay aware. And for the bangles, they regulate the blood flow in the arms, rubbing against your nerves. Their movements activates the acupressure points. Their sound stimulates alertness and mindfulness. Today, the world is spending billions of dollars on mental wellness. And you know what? Our ancestors designed it into a form of jewelry. It was that simple. So no, these rituals weren't random. They were engineering. They were neuroscience. They were lived wisdom. They were our original operating system. When you understand the science behind our culture, you stop seeing it as old-fashioned and start seeing it as ancient innovation. And in a world where global platforms constantly shape who we should be, our culture becomes our moral compass. Culture is world's oldest technology, and digital is a language that the world understands today, which is why we need a space which is dedicated to document and celebrate our cultural values digitally. If today's global platforms shape how we speak, how we think, how we behave, and how we consume, then where do we preserve who we are? Where do we keep our roots alive? Where do we celebrate our festivals, our ideas, our language, our wisdom? Where do we document our cultural journeys? This question led to the realization that we don't need just a social media. We need social identities. We need social roots, a platform built on consciousness, community life, values, and our identity. A digital platform that celebrates our culture is essential as an extension of our cultural identity. Roots teach you responsibility. Routes teach you opportunity. And together, they can do wonders. And in my story of London, there came a moment that I thought would be easy, the moment of returning home. The Swades moment. But transitioning back home after 7 years wasn't the warm, effortless homecoming I had been imagining. In fact, it was confusing, disorienting, emotionally super complex. I was coming back to the same people, the same routines, the same culture. But something had changed, and that was me. I was not the same person. And the truth, the struggle was real. More for them than for me. I had changed, and they were still adjusting to the version of me who returned back. And it was during this phase, the push, the pull, the internal questioning, that I learned my biggest lesson of life. No matter where your routes take you, your roots is what keeps you grounded. Because without your roots, everything feels urgent. Every opinion feels very personal. Every choice feels confusing. Hence, the purpose should be to shield against getting uprooted. We can digitalize our culture and thrive with modernity. Let our traditions, our festivals, our rituals find a digital home. Real communities, villages, tribes, spiritual groups, cultural groups can flourish online. Let's replace endless scrolling with meaningful sharing. And of course, maintain our peer motivation digitally. You can be attending satsangs or bhajan clubbing, dancing at a real wedding or a fake wedding, you know. Today, Korean pop has Korean platforms behind it. Japanese culture has digital infrastructure protecting it. Chinese algorithm on TikTok for educating their youth. Every strong nation has its own digital space. What about India? We must tell our story in our own style. So no turmeric latte is rebranding our haldi doodh. Our habit of eating before sunset, chovyar, doesn't come back to us in the form of intermittent fasting. And our Kolhapuri chappals earn millions of dollars for the artisans who make them instead of Pradas of the world. When we have more faith and confidence in our culture, we represent it with pride and we inspire everyone. Because if we don't, someone else will. And they will write the story with their perception of our culture. We don't need more influencers. We need more inspirers. We don't need more trends. We need more celebration of meaningful rituals. We don't need more content. We need more consciousness. Let me return back to my journey again. It has been 14 years now since I moved back. I've traveled to many more countries thereafter. I've lived through culture blending, conflict, and rediscovery. And here is my truth today. My faith in the roots of my culture is stronger than it ever was. The more global I became, the more I realized how deep, intelligent, grounded, and compassionate our cultural systems truly are. In a world where everything is global and instant, your culture becomes your compass. Your roots become your superpower. Your stories, your festivals, your languages, your communities, these are not old memories. They are modern forces. Explore every route, but carry your root. And if you need a digital home for it, come, let's build one. Roots before routes, always, and now digitally too. Thank you.